Welcome back to the Dragon Aerie. Today we are going to be wielding the Drakewing Ultra Greatsword. The Drakewing Ultra Greatsword was made from the soul of the Guardian Dragon. It is probably the lightest greatsword in the game, and it also scales with dexterity and has fairly reasonable strength requirements, so it's pretty much perfect for our build. Ultra Greatswords are big and slow, but they have a lot of reach, I almost said a lot of reach and a lot of range. That would be redundant. They have a lot of reach, and they have a lot of horizontal coverage. They also do a whole lot of damage. Now, the Dragon Area is an interesting area because there are only a couple of enemies here. However, the enemies are more Guardian Dragons. I wasn't kidding when I said that there were more of them. There's not an entire army. The ones up in the sky won't come down and kill you. But there are some more you have to fight. They behave pretty much the same way as the one that was the boss of Aldia's Keep does. They've got their weakness to the hitting in the shins. They do the stompy attack. I would honestly say they're a little bit harder simply because they don't ever get up and fly away. And while that's sort of annoying, it does give you a good chance to sort of regroup, heal if you need to, reposition yourself, etc. The Ultra Greatsword is also... That was weird, but I'll take it. The Ultra Greatsword is not the best kind of weapon to take these guys on because it's kind of slow and you want to get in multiple quick hits instead of one big one. But it works. Now, aside from the Guardian Dragons and the exploding mummy guys, this area plays host to, quite frankly, a ridiculous number of crystal lizards, who, as always, elude me. Oh well. Don't worry. There's a lot of them in this area. I'll get a bunch of them on camera and I'll get the rest later. Now, aside from all that, this area has one more gimmick to it that's a little weird and not well explained. You will see dragon eggs littered around the landscape. Such as these. Do not break them. For each dragon egg that you break, the guardian dragons that you fight will get a small buff. And more importantly, it creates a sort of timer. If you break a dragon egg and do not get to the next area within, I think it's like 10 minutes or so, then a dragon will drop out of the sky and break the bridge while you're on it and you die. It's not really where you want to be. So it's better to just clear out the area once, get to where you need to go, and then later on you can break as many eggs as you want if there's something behind them that you want. For the most part, there just simply isn't much reason to break eggs. Now, along with the Ultra Greatsword, we're also wearing Raim's armor, or at least the chest piece. Once you defeat the Fume Knight, Magarold and Iron Keep will actually sell Raim's armor set. It's kind of expensive, but it looks pretty cool, and it offers good protection. It is upgraded with Twinkling Titanite, but to make up for that, it just has high base stats. while I was visiting Magarold to get this, I also put a few spices into Denial so I could use it. As I mentioned when we picked it up, Denial essentially gives you a free hit upon death, meaning that it's basically a buffer between you and dying. It's honestly a really useful miracle. Depending on how they behave, actually getting in on the Guardian Dragons can be kind of difficult. There's also the ever-present problem in these kinds of games where the camera is not really on your side. You do want to dodge his various bites and swipes, but because the camera will probably be focused on the foot you're locked onto, or if not, it will just be focused on where you're looking, then there's some part of the body that you're going to miss. And sometimes you just roll into things. It's not a big deal. Now, one of the downsides of Denial is that it does have a time limit. You can't just put it on and then leave it forever. It works best in short, brutal engagements. For example, when I was on a different character that was much less well-armored than Hal, I used Denial in the fight with the Fume Knight, and it was actually very helpful. That only took 5 years. Now, of course, due to the abundance of amber herbs, there's nothing to really stop you from simply using Denial whenever you want, eating an herb, and then getting another charge. It's got a bit of a cast time, so it might not be the best to do that in the middle of a fight, but if it works, so you might want to experiment with it. These fucking lizards, I swear to God. Something to note is that the exploding mummy citizens are actually corrosive, so you really want to kill them before they explode on you. Now, you really might be tempted to try for a really cool plunging attack here, but you will probably die. Fortunately, this is the final Guardian Dragon we have to fight, after a somewhat rocky descent. By having high enough health and dropping from a low enough spot, I have successfully plunge attacked this guy, but it's just... Ow. It's not efficient. It's not worth it because it puts you in a really bad position when you land. And it doesn't even do that much damage, really. Alter Greatsword also has a projectile attack like a bunch of boss weapons do. And like most other boss projectile weapons, if you attack with it in melee range, you can usually get a sort of double hit on the enemy, which does a lot of burst damage. It costs a lot of durability, but, you know. With repair powders and the repair spell, you can usually get around that pretty easily. The Ring of the Evil Eye is an incredibly anticlimactic reward for this area. I'm pretty sure we already have a couple copies of that ring. These eggs appear to have been broken, but I'm not sure if the dragon did that and if that counts, but it's probably best to get a move on now. Just in case. This is the bridge in question. As long as the dragon doesn't come down, you're not actually in any danger on that path. It looks quite wobbly, and it is, but it's perfectly safe for the most part. Thanks. Oh god, it's you again. Ha, you're tiny, tiny little tree nerd.
Until a curse touches the flesh, we are bound by this yoke, as true as the dark that towers within reason. All men trust fully the illusion of life, but is this so wrong? A construction facade, and yet a woeful innocence endures. No hollow, potential shattering yoke, spoiling this wonderful force.
I'm feeling pretty Skeletor today, so yes.
I am Aldia. I sought to share the yoke of fate, but failed. Now, I argue with no son. Seek the throne. Seek light, dark, and what lies beyond.
So that's Aldia. I suppose it makes sense that he would pop up after we go through his house. One has to wonder what exactly transpired to put him in such a state. But if some of the experiments going on in his manor were any indication, it was probably some pretty fucked up shit. You reap what you sow, I guess. Now, there's actually a completely superfluous shortcut here. By using these zip lines, you can traverse the area in basically the blink of an eye, which would be great if bonfire warping didn't exist. You can also kick this ladder down once you're here, and you'll have free access to the beginning area bonfire. So you can warp some more. Look, it was a nice spot. There are just a couple more items that I want to get here before we move on. I just have to find the right place to drop down. Here we are. Now, this area is kind of a trap. The Twinkling Titanite is nice, but there's no way off of this ledge except for warping back. And if you are diligent and talk to the Emerald Herald, then you will have the Aged Feather, and that will not be a problem. However, I'm not really a fan of areas that you absolutely need to warp back out of. I feel like there should always be some sort of way out if the developer intends for you to be there at some point. But that is neither here nor there. The last item I want to get involves some gravity, so on goes the gravity protection ring. Now, this is the only way to get that item down there. That first zipline was more of a rangefinder because I'm not very confident in my ability to do this reliably. You might think you could just drop down from the bridge, but the flimsy rope railguards are actually very, very convincing, and we cannot do that. Instead, we have to do it this way. You can jump off of a zipline prematurely by pressing B. Or circle, I guess, if you're playing on a PS3 or PS4. Or whatever you have it bound to if you're using a keyboard for some reason. That'd be pretty hard. Anyway, the timing is not hugely exacting, but there's definitely a price for failure. There's even a price for success. Sorry, baby dragon. And the item you get is 20,000 souls, so it's like okay, but also kind of not worth it, especially if you die a bunch of times. Certainly, don't feel like you need to go out of your way for it. If you don't want to mess around with zip lines, then that is entirely your choice. That will do it for today. Next time we will tackle the Dragon Shrine. Learn a little bit more about this egg yolk.